Sharp Game here, coming at you from chooseyourrelationships.com. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about secrets that you probably don't know about Japanese girls. And there's some things, I would say unique things about Japanese girls you probably don't know. Depending on how you see it, you might see it as a problem, but I see it as kind of unique and also a challenge at the same time. The thing you have to understand about a lot of Japanese girls, just Japanese people in general, are very passive aggressive. That means that for the most part, they don't do anything until something happens. That's when they take action. So, since I've been out of the military, and I've seen a lot of guys got married to Japanese girls in America, and some in Japan too, but a lot of them in America, when they come to America, they've gotten a divorce. And one of the reasons for that is because Japanese girls have this thing where it's like they want you to anticipate what they're gonna do and say next. You kind of have to be a damn mind reader. They really want you to be a mind reader, right? Now, most Japanese guys, of course, they know this. They know how most Japanese girls operate for the most part. But you have to anticipate what she's going to say, what she's going to do. And it's easier said than done. Because in America, especially if you live in a major city, there's so much shit going on, and there's only 24 hours in a day. And a lot of people majority of people are hustling and bustling and trying to make ends meet, and they got kids, and they got to cook, and they got to help the kids with homework, and they got their job as well, and the phone is going off, the TV's on. There's just so much shit going on, and a lot of Japanese girls, in my opinion, a lot of them are high maintenance. They require a lot of time, and some of them like a lot of attention. Plus, you gotta anticipate what they're gonna say and do next. And this is why I think when a lot of the couples come to America, they get a divorce. Because plus, if you haven't lived or stayed in Japan, I think you're at a disadvantage. If you meet a Japanese girl in America and she's from Japan, I think you're gonna be at a disadvantage. Because the more you know, the more you can grow, and you can, know more about the Japanese culture and everything. However, a lot of Japanese girls that come to America, they get Americanized. So sometimes it doesn't matter. And sometimes a lot of them will kind of go back and forth. They'll play the Japanese role. They'll talk the Japanese culture only when it benefits them. But there's some Japanese girls that I know living in America, the only thing that's Japanese about them is they speak Japanese. That's it. As far as the way they act, the way they operate, they're like damn near Americanized. They're just like the average girl that live in America. Really. So, I mean, on some levels, it doesn't really matter. But the reason why the Japanese girls want guys to anticipate what's going to happen next, they were raised that way because they're not really direct when it comes to anything. They approach everything indirectly. Just like I said, they're passive aggressive. And another thing you have to be aware of is there's always going to be a language barrier there, because a lot of people in Japan don't speak English. Plus, English is not their first language, even though they learn it in school. But for some reason, they still don't know how to speak well, which is a fascinating thing. In my opinion, that's fascinating how that happens. You learn English in high school and you still can't speak. I mean, they're like probably the only first world country I know that speak the least amount of English. So there's a language barrier there. And plus, sometimes when they're speaking English, or when you're speaking English, they'll say things, but they're using the wrong words and the wrong phrases. And it could go the other way too. When you're speaking, they take the meaning of the words in the wrong way. That happens a lot. So there's a language barrier and there's a lot of hurdles you have to get over. And unfortunately, a lot of couples don't get over the hurdle. I'll give you an example of something that happened to me. One of my wife's friends, she's a good person. I like her. She visited us throughout the holidays, Christmas and New Year's Eve, right? And every time she comes over, I show her Southern hospitality. Show her around, take her around and everything, me and my wife, And if we go somewhere sometimes, if we eat at a restaurant or bar, I usually pick up the tab sometimes. I'll be like, hey, I got it this time. You get it the next place we go, right? Now, some Japanese girls would take that as kind of like a turn on. Like you're making a move on them, right? Now, she never really said anything at this particular time at the bar, at that very moment. But as time went on, she kind of anticipated that I was going to make a move on her, because she made a statement that said something like, we can be friends, we can be together. So that told me then that she was thinking something that I wasn't thinking. We weren't on the same page. And that, my friend, is a good example of what I'm talking about. She wanted to have sex, because when I was showing her around and treating her good and showing her the city and where we live at and everything, right? She thought that I was warming up to her. I was just being nice, because that's just how I am. If I like you, I'll treat you nice. You treat me nice, I'll treat you nice. Because she did the same when we went to visit her. But some women would take that the wrong way. They would take that as, hey, where are we going with this? You warming up to me, or you trying to sleep with me or something like that? And then to top it off, she made a pass at me 3 times. Excuse me. It happened 3 times. So it wasn't just like a one-shot deal. I mean, the first time it happened, I was like, oh, she's just drunk or whatever. But the second and third time she did it, she was sober. And she knew exactly what she was saying and what she was doing. And this type of thing has happened to me like probably 2 or 3 times. And what I learned, and what you probably end up learning just as I did, is a lot of people from other countries, even other cultures, they don't play by the same rules as you do. And they don't have the same morals as you do. So it's your responsibility to get people to understand exactly what you're saying and where you're coming from. That's why every time I speak to somebody, I'll make sure they understand what I'm talking about. Because if they say something to me, I'll repeat it back to them just to make sure we have a understanding and we're on the same page, and vice versa. If I say something to them, I'll make sure I'll have them repeat it back to me until they understand what I'm talking about. If it's something that's really important. That's probably the best way to overcome the miscommunication and to make sure that you're on the same page. But these kind of things happen, and it happens when you least expect, or it happens when you don't really have time. It happens in times where it's like you really don't have time, or you don't want to make the time to talk about it. But I mean, you have to talk. You can talk about it later. You don't have to always bring it up in the moment, So, those are just some things about Japanese girls that you probably don't know. They like for you to anticipate and know what they're gonna do and say next, and then there's always the language barrier there. So if you like what you heard, subscribe to my channel, check out my blog, chooseyourrelationships.com. Until next time, Sharp Game is out.